Well, hello, Freedomizers. Welcome to Zone 13, the best afternoon news show on the web. Today's Thursday, June 4th, 2015, and it's 3 p.m. on the East Coast, noon Pacific. We're broadcasting live from the studios of freedomizerradio.com, and of course, I'm Joanne Moretti. My great co-host Scott Ferrarello is with me, too, and we appreciate you tuning in. Thank you very much. Our chat rooms, both at Blog Talk Radio and right here at Freedomizer Radio, are open for you. Several of our colleagues, including Lynn, AstroTurf, and Famous Anna, are in the chats putting the links, documents, and other important information in there so you have them for your own records. And thank you, ladies, for that nice courtesy. Remember, they're also journalists, analysts, and researchers, too, the best in the business. Today, we have a ton of news and updates to get to. We're going to be doing some Bilderberg and some Jade Helm stuff. First part of the show, though, we're going to do some news. But before we even begin that, we have to do a short disclaimer, and that's just to let anybody who may be interested know that things that are said on this show are solely my responsibility and not that of our fantastic hosts and sponsors. The disclaimer goes like this. The comments made by hosts, guests, chat commentators, or phone callers of Zone 13 do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints, ideology, beliefs, or anything else of freedomizerradio.com, their sponsors, or many valued advertisers, whether it be past, present, and even future broadcasts. Okay, let me open up Scott's microphone here, bring him in, give him a proper hello, and then we'll start the show. Hey, Scott.
Hey, how you doing, Joanne?
Good. This is your proper hello. Hello, Scott.
Okay.
How are you today, my friend?
Pretty good.
Oh, man, we got a ton of news to get to today. I have been looking at all kinds of stuff, and everything seems to be fitting into a pattern now. You mean all of our listeners, and of course you know all about what that pattern is. But I think we're going to be able to prove it today. We're going to get into some stuff second hour, but first hour I want to definitely do a little bit of news. Anything you want to bring up before we begin?
No, go ahead.
All right, my dear. Today, the House rejected a bill to transfer Guantanamo detainees. Now, the House, they defeated the proposal to do away with the current prohibition on transferring the Gitmo detainees. They want to bring them to the United States. And, of course, Jerry Nadler's amendment to the annual appropriations bill for the Justice Department went down on a vote of 170 to 256. So 170 people voted to have these detainees come here. Now, Nadler said, well, that must mean that you don't trust our judicial system. And, well, of course we trust our judicial system. But why do we have to bring these detainees here? Their own home countries won't take them. So if they come to the United States and we give them a trial here, and there's somebody going to let them out, whether it's right away or down the road, then they're going to end up staying in the United States. There's no reason we can't bring our justice system over there. They can have trials over there. We've already been doing it. So what's the reason? What's the real reason they want to transfer these detainees here? They want to, put them in that supermax to justify them having a supermax? Or, they want to let them loose on our streets? Their own home countries won't take them.
Yeah, there you go. He wants to put them in peaceful white neighborhoods so they can kill a few dozen people and terrorize everyone. Who knows? I mean, just think of the most wicked thing you can think of, times it by 10, and you pretty much have their plan.
Mm-hmm. You're right. That's exactly what's going on. So I just wanted to bring that up to date, that went down in defeat, but that doesn't mean it's dead. That just means they're going to come at us again from a different angle. There's a new mosque in Maryland. A year ago, the Turkish Prime Minister Erdogan came over here and said that, he's putting this $100 million mega mosque in Maryland, rather. And he visited the mosque when he was here last year. Well, he promised to come back for the opening. That time has apparently arrived, and now Erdogan and Obama will be together at the mosque for the big opening ceremony. The presidents of Turkey and the U.S. will open the Turkish-American Culture and Civilization Center in Maryland, Turkey's foreign minister said Sunday. Mevlut Cavusoglu, or whatever his name is on a 3-day visit to Washington. He visited the center that also has a middle-sized mosque, and he lunched with representatives from the American Muslim community. So during a phone call, Erdogan asked Obama to accompany him to the opening, and Obama said if his schedule allows him, he will, but he did accept the offer in principle. So there's Obama going to be opening up this mosque with the Turkish president up there in Maryland. Guys, we got a problem. Do you know who Erdogan is? Do you know what his deal is, that he wants to be the Mahdi of the global caliphate? What's his mosque doing, $100 million mosque doing in Maryland? We're selling off the country, guys. Our ports are going to the Saudis and the Chinese. We're letting the Turks build mosques here. The Muslim Brotherhood got mosques all over the country. Big corporations buying up all kinds of land, like in Nevada and California and Atlanta and all of those places. You know, that's part of that Trans-Pacific Partnership that we're going to be getting to, too. That not only allows it, but it also gives fast track to all other treaties from this point on that have anything to do with trade. I bet we didn't know that, did we?
Yeah, it also gives the entire world, all Americans, private information, by the way. Where they live, their phone numbers, where they work.
Yeah. And intellectual
everything.
property, too. If you have a patent, the whole world has access to it, so you're not even going to get paid for your patent anymore. They're doing away with the intellectual property rights because copyrights are not the same globally, so we're going to have some uniform system. We're going to be bringing that up. Hey, Governor Rick Perry announced his run today for president. I don't know if you all saw that. Well,
a former anti-gun Democrat who's just backed the Obama trade bill is running for president. Lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, he announced today, and he was accompanied by the Luttrell brothers. I don't know, anybody who listens to this show will know who Marcus Luttrell is. He was the character of Lone Survivor. He's a Medal of Honor winner. He's a national hero, all that. He also has a twin brother named Morgan. Well, Morgan and Marcus were flanking Rick Perry. Do you know people on the left didn't even know who the Luttrells were, who Marcus Luttrell was? Listen to this story. Former Texas Governor Rick Perry announced the launch of his 2016 presidential campaign today, complete with freshly painted C-130 behind him and Navy SEALs to his right and left. An editor for the far-left publication, The Nation, that's that communist newspaper, however, was completely perplexed by the men, one of whom was portrayed by Mark Wahlberg in the blockbuster hit Lone Survivor. Guy's name is Charles Zornick. He said, the guy definitely captures my reaction to Rick Perry's announcement, too. And Sean Davis says to him, well, do you even know who that is? Zornick writes back, no. So not only didn't he recognize Luttrell, he had never even heard of the record-breaking movie portraying the heroic actions. So it goes on and it says, no one's ever accused employees of the nation of having their fingers on the pulse of America. But he wasn't the only one bewildered by the men standing with Perry. Zach Petnis, that's a Media Matters executive, who previously served as the communications director for the disastrous Texas gubernatorial campaign for Wendy Davis, he had no clue who Luttrell was either. I mean, this is a Texas national hero, a U.S. national hero, but a Texas state hero, too. And Zach writes, who are those dudes behind Perry? And it didn't stop there. Some guy named Lejeune, he's from Think Progress. He says, who are the two dudes standing behind Perry? Are they related? Well, yeah, they're related. They're identical twins. Nobody knew who Marcus Luttrell was or his brother. And they do look identical, too. I'm sure Len has the link in the chat already. Have a look at the picture. It's not like you can't tell they're related. Did you hear about that IRS employee who stole $326,000 using people's identifications?
Yeah, I did.
Last week that we were telling everybody, the Russians hacked the IRS and they got people's information. It wasn't the Russians at all. It was IRS employees. This one stole $326,000. That's only one of them.
Yeah. Oh, they're in a good position to do that. Who's
Yeah.
going to prosecute them? Nobody. Who's going to arrest them? Nobody.
True. People who didn't file taxes this year, the IRS knows about it. Most of them lost their jobs, the people who didn't file. So what these IRS employees were doing was filing taxes in their names and having them deposited to 4 different accounts. Remember we told everybody that we thought those accounts were set up by the Russians? No, they weren't. They were set up by IRS employees, and they split the money. When people didn't file, they made up these jobs and they made up the returns, and then they had the returns filed to bank accounts. And they're only telling us about one, but there's a whole bunch of them. There's a whole identity theft ring at the IRS. So if you didn't file taxes this year, you better check on that, because you might have. They said over 100,000 identities were hacked.
Yeah.
So 100,000 people out there got tax returns in their names, and they don't even know about it. And they went to 4 bank accounts.
You better hope you did your taxes right, too, or you might be going to prison for it.
Mhm. That's a good point, too.
Yeah, better hope you didn't claim something.
I know, you didn't claim for Mexican dependents on there. Because that stuff will red flag, and some other IRS employee will find it, and you're going to go to jail. And how are you going to prove you didn't file taxes when you did?
I know.
Yeah, they got you there. The Obama administration is continuing to pull prison breaks. Do you know we released 30,500 criminal immigrants from custody last year? 30,500. Of that 30,500, 3,700 of them were top-level threats. And DHS said that they had discretion to do that. Like if they didn't send transportation for them, they just let them out. More than 3,700 threat level 1 criminal immigrants were released from custody last year, according to new data obtained by Congress and revealed by the Washington Times. A report from the Times detailed how data from the Department of Homeland Security. Let me stop there. Department of Homeland Security. Anybody know what Homeland Security means out there? Homeland,
Yeah.
that would be the country, right? Securing would be securing the country. I don't really think that the Department...
It means.
Yeah, well, I don't think Homeland Security means what they think it means. First of all, there's no such thing as Homeland Security with a wide-open border. There's no such thing as Homeland Security when you got TSA agents failing 97% of the time. 97% failure rate.
Think
Why
of
do
the
we
money
still have
going
them?
down the drain. Just unbelievable waste and incompetence. And that's pretty much what it is in the government, 95% incompetent waste.
Yeah, well, you're not kidding. These people shouldn't even be paid. They lose their badges. They lose their uniforms. They can't identify a bomb. They can pick out a bottle of shampoo in a hurry, though. Nobody's traveling with any Pantene products or L'Oreal products, that's for sure. No mouthwash for you.
They get an A+ for molesting grandma and,
and confiscating
your daughter. Yeah, confiscating hair care products.
They can't tell the difference between a breast pump and a bomb. It's just... And then Obama's pulling a prison break. 30,500 criminal illegals were released. Just open the door and cut them loose. Some of them were in there for rape, robbery, murder, assault. One guy set his wife on fire. He got out. One of them got out because he was in an advanced age. He was 55. What?
Yeah, well, they can do whatever they want.
Mhm. Yep. And
Anything they want.
Speaking of illegals and immigrants and stuff, Walt Disney World is discriminating against United States workers. They're bringing their own workers in from India, making the American employees train them. And they're only paying them half what they were paying the Americans. They're laying off the Americans, the ones, that they have to supply Obamacare for and all that. And then they're hiring these alien workers on this H-1B worker pass things there. Denise wrote a good article about it. October 2014, Disney CEO Bob Iger is one of 8 co-chairs of the Partnership for a New American Economy. What's a New American Economy? Well, that's a leading group advocating for an increase in the H-1B visa cap. Last Friday, this partnership was a sponsor of an H-1B briefing at the U.S. Capitol for congressional staffers. The briefing was closed to the press. One of the briefing documents handed out at the Congressional Forum made this claim. H-1B workers complement instead of displace U.S. workers. It explains that as employers use foreign workers to fill more technical and low-level jobs, firms are able to expand and allow U.S. workers to assume managerial and leadership positions. Well, that document was obtained by Norman Matloff. He's a computer science professor at the University of California, and he's a critic of this program. Anyhow, from the perspective of the 5 laid-off Disney IT workers, all of whom agreed to speak on the condition of anonymity, Disney cut well-paid and long-time staff members, some who had previously been singled out for excellence, as it shifted work to contractors. These contractors use foreign labor, mostly from India. The laid-off workers believe the primary motivation behind Disney's action was cost-cutting. So some of these people were literally flown in the day before to take over the exact same job. But if you're using contractors and they're foreigners, you don't have to provide Social Security, you don't have to provide Obamacare, and you don't have to pay them what you pay a union worker here. So that's what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. They're doing the jobs Americans won't do for the price Americans won't do it for. They forget to tell you that part. So if you're looking for a minimum wage increase, good luck getting it. Why would they bother giving you $15 an hour to flip burgers when they can get an IT guy for $12 an hour? I bet he'd flip burgers for $5. So all these immigrants are not helping the minimum wage one bit. When employers have to compete for employees, they have to offer a better wage, or they're not going to get employees. But if they're offering $7 an hour, and they have a line down the street and around the corner of people who are going to apply for that job, they're not going to raise that offer. If they couldn't get somebody for $7, they'd have to go to $7.50, $8, and have to start the bidding. If there's a shortage of workers. So when you have too many employees, there is no competition. You either take the $7 an hour or you don't. The guy right behind you will. So, you can't have it both ways. You can't have all these immigrants in here and still ask for that kind of a wage. You're not going to get it. And not only that, but people act like we don't have an immigration policy. We let millions and millions of people in here legally every year. And then you got 30 million of them who just let out of 30,000 who just let out of jail. So how many are not in jail? I saw an estimate that 25% of the population of Mexico now resides in the United States. So why are we even sending them money? Why are we trying to support their people when their people are here? And if immigration, if these people were so good for our country, why weren't they good for their own country?
And they know how to drive down wages, and that's what the intention is. They got to drive them down. They got to make America just like every other third world crap hole nation.
Yep.
No
and that
national
also
poverty, no national pride, no nothing.
And that also fits in with the Trans-Pacific Partnership, doesn't it? All these corporations can do all the business they want. They can bring employees in, put employees out, move them all around the world. No immigration policy affects them. No laws affect them except for the laws in their tribunal. And it drives down wages. So they're going to make it good. Just hire illegals. Save a whole bunch of money. You don't have to provide them with Obamacare, and the heck with those Americans. They want too much anyhow, those privileged Americans. They don't think it's white privilege either. They think the black Americans are just as privileged. So, it's not a black-white thing, it's an American thing. Speaking of privilege, in Baltimore, the state's attorney now wants Gray's autopsy to be a secret. After all the mouthing off and all the details and everything this woman wanted to say, she said, but she's not going to release the autopsy results, why would that be? Why would you want to keep that secret? Does it exonerate people? What was in his system? Did he overdose? Was he even conscious when he hurt himself? If the guy's dealing heroin and he's running, he either threw it or swallowed it, right? Couldn't find it on him. So maybe they found it in him. In the meantime,
it's all manufactured news, a manufactured crisis. And, when they don't even let you look at the facts, then it's pretty much admitting that it's a manufactured crisis.
Yeah, well, the Baltimore Sun's saying that Mosby wants a protective order that would block the release of Freddie Gray's autopsy report and other sensitive documents. She didn't even identify what sensitive documents are, so that must be she'll just make it up as she goes along. Yep, that's sensitive. Nope, that's not. Yep, that is. I don't know who's going to listen to this, but, now they say now it's the time to turn over the evidence. Why would you ask for protection? They don't even want to hand it over to the defense attorneys. So what are they hiding when the defense attorney can't get discovery? That's illegal.
It's all illegal.
What's so top secret about it?
There is no legal anymore. There's no rule of law anymore.
I think this chick is doing everything she can to get it out of her hands. I don't think she wants to have to go walk into court and try this case. She made a big deal out of it and made a whole lot of noise and created a whole lot of commotion. But now it's time to get off the pot. And I think that she's terrified. So she's doing everything she can to blow it for herself so she doesn't have to be a part of this. When she was talking, she was saying, she went into this insane speech about how it was the youth time and that she's going to make sure Baltimore looters and rioters were going to receive justice. So she is reassuring them that they're going to receive justice. They're not going to get in any trouble, which, of course, is a license to loot and a license to be violent. If you're not going to get in trouble, why not do it? So, they got these kids thinking they're not going to get in trouble if they do it anywhere, which isn't the case. Everybody got busted in New York the other day. A whole bunch of them went into this store and slapped around the clerk and took whatever they wanted and walked out. Well, they all got busted. They weren't in Baltimore. They didn't have a free pass. But here's these kids thinking it's okay. Well, everybody else is doing it. Why don't I do it? I can walk in and get any Nikes I want, and I can get a bag of chips and a soda if I want. I don't have to pay for it. I just slap the guy around and take it. Isn't that what we're supposed to be doing now? Everybody else is getting away with it.
You got to check to make sure George Soros said it was okay first. Then you can get away with it.
Yep. All right, now, Barbara Boxer and Cory Booker, both Democrats, one's from California, one's from New Jersey, introduced a bill Tuesday that would require states to report all police shootings, not just the ones where somebody got killed, but all police shootings to the Department of Justice. Since when is the Department of Justice in the business of running local police departments? This is another way to nationalize police forces. And I'm going to tell you about that, and I'm going to tell you why. But that bill was filed. Don't know where it's going. If you look at your Obamacare and your health insurance, they're going to be increasing double digits now. And you know what? Obama says that's the plan. Geez, isn't that what we said it was? They're going to make it so it's so unaffordable that you're going to be screaming for a single payer. The government's going to have to take it over. And, of course, Progressive Insurance is going to have to be the one that's the government insurance company now. All the rest of them are going to be out of business, and we're going to single payer. Matter of fact, Bonnie Frank told you that. So now it's going up double digits. sometimes triple digits, too. Breitbart says, are you startled by the news that insurance companies are planning health insurance rate hikes of 10% or more in 37 states? Well, that news, according to the White House, is one of the signs that Obamacare is working. White House Press Secretary Josh Ernst explained to reporters that thanks to Obamacare requirements, insurance companies are forced to report publicly any proposed rate hikes exceeding 10%. So, they can put it 700% as long as, it's over 10%. But when asked if the rate increases were contrary to Obama's promise to reduce health care costs through Obamacare, Ernst focused more on the law's ability to slow down spiking health care premiums. Our goal of this has been to slow the growth in health care costs, and that has been our mantra. No, that wasn't what the goal is that they said. We're going to lower health care costs, and everybody's going to save $2,500, and it's going to be wonderful, and roses and rainbows and lollipops and unicorns. No, it isn't. We were stiffed. The only one who told the truth was Gruber.
Yeah. That worm.
Yeah, he's a worm, but he told the truth. He's an arrogant, pompous, condescending beanbag. But he told the truth. Well, we depended on the stupidity of the voter, and it's going to lead to single payer. But we couldn't do it right away because people said no. We're still going to do it. We just have to do it this way. We have to set up this system so that it fails, so people say, oh, my God, I can't afford the insurance, and the government's going to help me out, so then the government's going to step in with single payer. But we told everybody that. And then Gruber came out and confirmed it when people were flipping out at us, telling everybody that we were lying. No, we were not lying. We read it. Every word we read. And we posted it, line by line, at Twitter. So we're the ones who did read it. We talk about vaccines here a lot. And we talked about, the lawsuits and about autism and things like that. Well, the government used to keep statistics on that and records on that. They recently wiped the vaccine injury information clean from the website. So if you go to look up on the government website any type of injury or lawsuit or anything like that from a specific vaccine, you're not going to find it anymore. It's been wiped clean. They did it in March. This is from Cheryl Atkinson. Recent rise in vaccine victims' court decisions and concessions are not reflected in revised government charts. In March, the federal government removed the latest vaccine injury court statistics, more than a year's worth of data, from one of its publicly reported charts. It was an abrupt departure from the normal practice of updating the figures monthly. Wiping the latest data means the adjudication chart on the government website no longer reflects the recent sharp rise in court victories for plaintiffs who claim their children were seriously injured or killed by one or more vaccines. So, it says here, since January 2014, twice as many victims have won court decisions than the previous 8 years combined. So, what's with the uptick in all the injuries on these vaccines? So much so that the government had to wipe the adjudications, that's the court rulings, had to wipe those clean. And there's been a big uptick in it, more than all 8 years combined. Sounds to me like somebody's been tampering with the recent vaccines. Better keep an eye on this, guys, especially people with newborns or expecting newborns. Don't give those kids vaccines, and if you do, at least give them a chance and wait until they're 18 months old. A brand new baby's working off of its mother's immune system. They even said the vaccines don't work when they're giving them to them that young, because their own immune system is rejecting the vaccine. So obviously they're working off the mother's immune system. If the mother's immune, so the kid will be, until its own immune system kicks in at about 18 months. So if you got a baby, don't give it the vaccines. Don't take that chance. Let it learn to walk and talk and everything before you start pumping this stuff into them. And then at least you'll know if the kid has been harmed by it. If the baby's brand new and isn't walking and talking, you may see a slight difference in its personality, but you're not going to notice it like you would if the kid was 18 months old, was walking and talking, and all of a sudden doesn't do either of those things. Then you'd notice.
Yeah, well, there's a reason why autism and things like that is up like 800%.
1 in 8 military family children are born with autism, or allegedly born with autism. 1 in 8. That's a big number. That doesn't even reflect the general population. All right.
Yeah, you hardly ever even heard that word 30 years ago. I mean, it was really, really rare.
Yeah. Unbelievable. The final assault. Obama's got 19 months left. He's coming after the guns hard. Hide your weapons, lock and load. Don't tell anybody you got a weapon. They're coming after your guns. We told everybody about that. But this is from Bearing Arms. The Hill is reporting that Barack Obama has directed his Department of Justice to prepare a final executive-level attack on the Second Amendment during the waning years of his failed presidency. The Justice Department plans to move forward this year with more than a dozen new gun-related regulations. According to a list of rules the agency has proposed to enact before the end of the Obama administration. The regulations range from new restrictions on high-powered pistols to gun storage requirements. Chief among them is a renewed effort to keep guns out of the hands of people who are mentally unstable or have been convicted of domestic abuse. So now you and your old lady have an argument. She tells the cops that you whacked her, even if you didn't. There goes your guns. No proof needed. Or vice versa. Your old man says you whacked him, there goes your guns. While short on specific, the article notes that the Obama administration will be targeting high-powered pistols. So he's coming after your 45s. He's also going after AR-15s, AKM, base pistols, the firearms that were used in excuse for attempts to ban the 5.56 NATO M855 rifle ammunition earlier this year. I got to tell you something. Whatever kind of guns the military is using, you should probably own one. Because if they get rid of the ammunition for the gun that you do have, no sense in having that gun. But if you have the same gun that the military has, the chances are that they have bullets and a whole bunch of them. So in case any of the soldiers decide to defect and go with people, those bullets will fit your gun too. Whatever they do, you do. Got it?
Sooner or later, they're going to cross the line, and the story with that judge that come out, saying that it wasn't child endangerment to rape a 3-year-old. Well, you have judges saying this. You're crossing a line here where people will die than to put up with this kind of BS.
Do you know that's intentional?
What kind of sick freak says something like that and means it? Stands there, with a smile on his face and is a judge. Can you believe that? No, he said that, the guy that raped the 3-year-old didn't mean to harm the child. No, he just wanted to enjoy it. It was a personal thing, right? He just wanted to enjoy the kid. Didn't give a damn how the kid felt about it. What do you mean he didn't intend to harm the kid? How can you not intend to harm a kid? How can you say that and look at yourself in the mirror? I mean, what kind of a ghoul are you? Aren't you? I mean, you don't have any shame in yourself. I don't get it. Where do they dig these people up? I mean, they conjure them up from some satanic seance on Halloween?
They're out there.
I mean, where do they get them?
They're out there. There was a guy in my
You know what it is? You know what it is? It's to make way to make that legal, so these Muslim pedophiles can practice their religion, I guess.
Yeah, well,
it's the only explanation.
Well, there is one other explanation, and it's coming up in 3 more articles right after break. There is a reason. They're pushing our buttons on purpose. They even commissioned a report to find our breaking point at Cornell University. It's called the Minerva, and that's coming up. But before we get to it, I want to tell you the Red Cross. All those billions of dollars, they built 6 homes with it in Haiti. 6 homes.
Jeez.
And they're not even real homes. They're like mud huts. This is from PBS. Following a harrowing earthquake that struck Haiti in 2010, the American Red Cross launched a project to raise funds and rebuild the area. Roughly $500 million, that's $500 million was donated just for this one thing. There was almost $1 trillion donated to the Red Cross and the Clinton Foundation, but just this $500 million. It was supposed to provide homes for more than 130,000 people in Haiti. But according to a new report from ProPublica, it stands today only 6 homes have been built in the 4 years since those efforts began.
You believe that?
Where's
That's why
the money?
you can't give money to charities like that ever. I mean, you can't even give money to the food bank because they throw away 95% of food that they have because there's a label on it that's torn. I mean, do you think someone starving gives a crap if the label on a can of, beans is torn or not?
No, they even gave them cholera. The UN was dumping raw sewage upstream from where these people were, where there was a big population. You don't dump it in the stream that people drink out of. Here's the Red Cross. And, they gave them all cholera. I got 2 reasons why you don't do that. Number 1 and number 2, you don't do it. Unbelievable. I see that our foreign policy is going just handsomely, especially our red line in Syria. Iran just sent 15,000 troops to Syria today. One of them was Suleiman. Remember the guy that was over in Iraq, taking over the operations in Iraq? Well, now he's in Syria, and he brought 15,000 troops with him. Nice job, Obama. How's that red line working out for you? I got a question. If they're putting 15,000 troops in Syria, and they got troops in Iraq, what the hell is Kerry talking to them about up there? They enriched their uranium 20% while the talks were going on. And Marie Hoff said, well, we were perplexed by that. Perplexed? Is that a word you use to describe the State Department?
She learned a new word. Hey, give her a break here. She's got the vocabulary of about a, 8-year-old. She learned her a new word.
The Iranians put it out that she was a dumb blonde. Talk about sexist remarks.
She is. With glasses.
That's what Zarif said. She's just a dumb blonde. And they're laughing at her.
2 points on her IQ, those glasses, She looks like Garth from Wayne's World. Notice that?
She does. She really does. And that she's second in command for these Iranian talks. But now that Kerry's out.
Wow. Well, can she ride a bicycle? That's what I want to know.
She's pregnant, so I don't think she's going to try. But you know who else they got standing in this place? Wendy Sherman. She's been there right along, by the way. Wendy Sherman was a social worker before she got this gig at the department. And now she's in negotiations with Iran. So now you know where the empathy for the enemy comes from and the forgiveness and all of that. They got a social worker and a dumb blonde running the show. John Kerry, people keep telling me, that he reminds them of Lurch. No, he doesn't. Lurch was at least likable. He had a better personality. Unbelievable. And I don't believe a word. I don't believe one word that he fell off his bike and got injured.
He did.
There would be pictures all over the place, and there are not. They got pictures of him up on the bike and riding down the street, and, you see all the cars and the people with him and stuff, right? Those pictures were taken in March. They weren't even taken in France.
Right. I don't know where he is. Now there's rumors around that he's been shot and stuff. I mean, it's such BS.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that rumor. I don't know, but
to
break a femur.
Cares, so they're not even looking for him.
Well, I know damn well. Don't believe a word that he was hurt in a bike accident. He was not. If he was, there would be pictures splashed all over the web. Anybody who's got those pictures would be making a few bucks right now selling those pictures. There is no pictures because it did not happen the way that they're telling us. If he's hurt at all, he might be just taking a dive. He wants out. There goes his Nobel Peace Prize.
That's what it is. He needed a way out. So they figured, well, we can't blame a YouTube video for this one. So let's just say he broke a leg. they already used the fell down and bonked his head with Hillary, so they couldn't use that one.
Yeah, well, if he was on his bike, he wasn't doing 100 miles an hour. It's very hard to break a femur. You remember when Nancy Kerrigan got whacked with the billy club on her leg, right? Didn't break it because her muscles are so tight. This guy windsurfs. He rides his bike, all of that. He's an exercise freak. He's got legs probably as strong as a soccer player.
Oh, he's a freak, that's for sure.
Well, whatever happened to Kerry, it wasn't a bike accident, if anything happened to him at all. And I'll bet on that. I'll wager on that one.
Maybe he fell off his bike reaching for someone's wallet. I don't, that one I'd believe.
Well, he is a Democrat, so he probably couldn't help himself.
That's right.
Hey, let's talk about Clinton for a second. She was pimping waivers to Sweden for a fee. Sweden donated $26 million to the Clinton Foundation, plus gave her a $750,000 speaking fee. While they were lobbying the State Department to get a waiver, they do business with Iran, with Volvo and this other company. And that's like one of their biggest economic revenues is the business they do with Iran. So they wanted this waiver. Now, the rest of the world is on board, putting these sanctions on Iran. And that was at the behest of the United States. So the United States, part of their foreign policy was to have the rest of the world put sanctions on Iran to stop them from this nuclear thing. Here's Hillary Clinton giving out waivers so they can do business with Iran for a fee. So that's treason, ladies and gentlemen. Absolute treason.
Well, they do that. That's, they commit that act about 12 times, just before the weekend.
Yeah, really. But, you're giving out waivers, and the rest of the world is supposed to put sanctions on them. So, like the UK, they stopped doing business with Iran. And what for? Why, they didn't give enough money to Hillary?
That's right.
And then
she's getting a lot of money to make people, make people think that popular again.
Well, she's running a shadow government. And Obama and her are staying out of each other's way, and they know each other, and they know what each other is doing. And they have a little pact going, and that explains all these little afternoon luncheons unscheduled. Keep your mouth shut, nobody say anything. Speaking of nobody saying anything, she told the media that there'll be no questions at her campaign stop in Houston today. And her speech is the answer to her questions, to any questions they will have. I wouldn't even go. Why bother going? Why bother showing up? She could just make a tape and hand them out. But they want that $1,700 per plate.
I'm surprised they put TV monitors, propped up on chairs and just, pretend like they're there. And
yeah, she could Skype it on a Trinitron.
Right.
She doesn't even have to leave her house.
Right.
She just thinks that you're just going to vote for her. And the Democrats are just going to automatically vote for her. They don't even like her, and they're going to vote for her because they're so wedded to that D.
Wow.
Also, there's a new whistleblower. Actually, he's not a new whistleblower, but he's new to us. That the House committee now knows of this whistleblower. The House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform recently heard new information that could blow the lid off the Hillary Clinton private email service scandal and shed new light on a consulting job Homa Abedin held while working as Clinton's aide at the State Department. The Daily Caller has learned of a 3-hour May 1st meeting 2 State Department whistleblowers held with the General Counsel and staffers for the Oversight Committee, which is led by Utah Republican Jason Chaffetz. According to a copy of the notes from that meeting, State Department whistleblower Richard Higbee and another whistleblower told of an inspection-turned-whistleblower with State's Office of Inspector General, who claims his investigation into Abedin's work with Teneo Holdings, a consulting firm, led to the discovery of Clinton's private email server. And according to the notes, the whistleblower also told Higbee that the investigation was shut down by Harold Giesel, That's the former acting inspector general for the State Department, whose tenure was marked by accusations of political favoritism. So this was being investigated, and they kneecapped the investigation. They had an inspector general. He got thrown out, and they put this guy in here temporarily, long enough to get rid of that investigation. And then he got out. So now there's a new whistleblower. They're not giving us his name yet, but the committee knows about it. So we'll see where that goes. And right.
You can blow the whistle all day long, but if there's no one that's going to come running and do something about it once they hear the whistle, guess what? It's pointless. You can be, you might as well be blowing a whistle in your bathroom because no one's going to come running anyway.
That's right.
No.
Yep. I got one more Clinton story here, and it includes Obama, too. They decided that they're going to have to revamp our thinking to force us into correct thinking, or at least correct by what they deem as correct. Victor David Hansen writes, what happens when the public does not wish to live out the utopian dreams of its elite leaders? Usually the answer for those leaders is to seek more coercion and less liberty to force people to think progressively. Here at home, Obama came into power in 2009 with a Democratic Congress, a sympathetic press, and allies in Hollywood, academia, unions, and philanthropic activist foundations. Yet all that support was not sufficient to ensure correct public attitudes about Obama's agenda on health care, entitlements, taxes, guns, abortion, and cultural issues. In the 2010 midterm elections, the Democrats forfeited their majority in the House. In the 2014 midterms, they lost their Senate majority and also lost ground in state legislatures and with governorships across the country. Since early 2013, Obama's approval rating has been consistently below 50%. How, then, do politically correct planners force the people to think and act properly when they push back? Extra-legal executive orders can help a president bypass supposed troglodytes in Congress and among the public. So he granted the blanket amnesty and proposed rules that would lead to the closure of many coal plants and arbitrarily chose which health or labor statutes should be enforced and at what times. A filmmaker was jailed on a trumped-up probation charge after making a video about Islam that was deemed unhelpful to the official administration Benghazi narrative. The IRS hounded nonprofit groups considered insufficiently progressive. In a recent rant about conservatives on Fox News, which has a fraction of the combined audience of the liberal networks, Obama warned that the media are going to have to change the very way they report news. So, presumably Obama thinks that Fox tricks the unknowing masses into thinking wrong thoughts. So, as Obama put it, we're going to have to change how our body politic thinks, which means we're going to have to change how the media reports on these issues. So, there goes your First Amendment, there goes your media. And maybe he hasn't heard about the First Amendment and the free press and free speech, things like that.
Don't have any media anyway. He just wants the remaining 4% to be completely made up propaganda, state-run lies.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, this is our last story before break. Pam Geller was on CNN, and she was in a fight with the real tense exchange, and she told the guy that they're going to come for you too. The guy's name is Chris Cuomo. That's Cuomo's son that she was arguing with, and he was telling her how she shouldn't have drawn the Prophet Muhammad, and that he had stuck up for the Charlie Hebdo. And Pam Geller said the comics at the Charlie Hebdo, they were actually vulgar and sexually oriented. None of the Muhammad cartoons that she was behind had anything to do with sexuality, things like that. It was just draw Muhammad only, not with little kids, none of that. So she told them that they were coming after you. And she said, she's got cops watching her now. Still not the FBI, but the cops are helping her out. And saw everything that happened in Boston the other day. The dude was going after the cops. He was going to behead cops. Well, if they take out the cops can't help you, right? So I think that that's also part of not only the Trans-Pacific Partnership, but this nationalizing the police forces and Jade Helm. So let's go to break, and when we come back, we're going to do some Jade Helm stuff and some Trans-Pacific Partnership stuff and some Bilderberg stuff because there's a lot of things going on there, and they all actually fit into everything we just said. We'll be right back.
You are listening to Freedomizer Radio, where freedomizers freedomize freedom.
And we're back. You're listening to Zone 13 right here at freedomizerradio.com. I'm Joanne Moretti. My great co-host Scott Ferrarello is with me too, and our great colleagues are in the chat rooms. Lynn and Famous Anna and AstroTurf, putting all the links to all our sources in there. So please say hi to everybody when you get over there. All right, Scott, anything you want to bring up?
Go ahead.
All right, let's start with the Trans-Pacific Partnership because this all fits in together. We discussed earlier in the show how this is an absolute assault on U.S. sovereignty, on our court systems, on our citizenship, on our everything. Well, Marco Rubio and Lindsey Graham refused to answer whether or not they had read the Obama trade before voting on it. And only two presidential candidates currently in the U.S. Senate publicly admit to having read the Obama trade agreement, and that's Senator Cruz and Senator Rand Paul. Cruz voted for the Trade Promotion Authority that would fast-track the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and so did Marco Rubio and so did Lindsey Graham. Rand Paul did not vote for it. A lot of Democrats didn't vote for it either, but 10 of them did. So this is just for the fast-track authority. That's gone through the Senate, and that was an easy one, but it probably won't pass the House. There's not a whole lot of people there. But I want to point out a couple of things here that I highlighted. Now, right here it says Paul, the only GOP presidential candidate in the U.S. Senate to vote against Obama trade, went to the secret room in the Capitol to read the text of it on May 13th. In an exclusive interview with Breitbart News outside the room right after he read it, Paul noted that the TPP text was about 800 pages long and that the president should publicly release the text of it before Congress gives him TPA fast-track authority. The thing is that I think it actually hurts their cause by making it so secretive. While I can't discuss the details of what was in there because of them calling it secret, I didn't see anything that I didn't think couldn't be made public with a problem, Paul said. So if I'm missing something, because we read through the 800 pages of it, and we didn't see anything that couldn't conclude that it couldn't be made public. Cruz's spokesman confirmed to Breitbart News that he did read it on May 12th. That was the day before Paul did. So that means that Cruz read the TPP text 10 full days before voting on the TPA. So he knows what's in it. Now, another thing I highlighted, it says, if Congress approves the fast-track authority on trade, it will be able to review the agreement 2 months before the president signs it. Okay, so Congress will be able to see it for 2 months. However, Congress only gets an up or down vote on the trade deal, meaning they cannot offer amendments to it. So that essentially ensures whatever's present passes, regardless of the fact that Obama and his administration negotiated it. And under fast track, Congress transfers its most basic legislative powers to the executive branch for 6 years, Jeff Sessions said. So that's even 2 years into the next presidency, unless, the next president has something in his hand her hand that says, that's not what we're going to do. And then Breitbart News contacted Senator Cruz's office about the op-ed being written 3 weeks before his review of the TPP, but a spokesman argued the op-ed was simply just about TPA, which technically would apply not just to the Trans-Pacific Partnership, but to any trade deal negotiated and pitched while fast track is in effect. So for the next 6 years, not just the Trans-Pacific Partnership can be fast-tracked, but any trade agreement. Now, there's some trade agreements coming up. This Trans-Pacific Partnership was only with 11 small countries in the South Pacific, Southeast Asia, like Myanmar and the Philippines and Vietnam and those little countries, China and Russia and the UK and all that. They're not in it. Those trade deals are coming up. So this is actually a sneaky way to do it. They want fast-track authority on this little one, which is still pretty bad. And it does violate everything I said, our sovereignty, our legal system, our immigration system, all of that. It does violate that. But that's only in a small way. But you see what they're doing? They're making it for 6 years. This is fast-track authority. So now the Congress doesn't have anything to do with trade deals for the next 6 years. That's 2 years for Obama, and then 4 years for the next president. That's pretty slick, you think? Now it goes to the House. Hopefully the House won't pass it. The Senate already did. But everything that's ever been fast-tracked has always been passed. They don't have a...
And it's a global agenda goal, so it's going to go through. There's no wondering if it's going to pass the House. They want you to believe that there's a chance that it won't. So you can be outraged and horrified when it is.
Mm-hmm.
There is nobody. When Ted Cruz is giving it a thumbs up, it's over, folks. I mean, come on.
Yeah, well, this is a trade agreement that absolutely gives up our sovereignty, and that's
and they all know it.
Yeah, and it's just the small countries. What happens with the next agreement? What is it, the Transnational Partnership, the TNP, is something coming up? Then that's got Russia and China and BRICS and everybody else in it. The UK. But you all know we're expecting an economic collapse. We're already halfway into it. Today, Reuters put out an article using words chaos and crisis when they were talking about the stock market taking a dive today. It was just bonds, actually, that took a dive. So when you use words like chaos and crisis in just an 89% or 89-point drop, something bigger is going on behind the scenes there. We also know that there's definitely going to be an economic collapse. This is the 7th year in a 7-year cycle. We had an economic collapse 2001, then again in 2008. Well, this is 2015. So we're expecting it probably by September 25th, which will be right around the time that the P5+1 meeting is. And that's the World Economic Forum. They're going to be transferring to a basket of currencies. So what this deal is, this Trans-Pacific Partnership is to do, is to get out ahead of it. We already know that the U.S. dollar is not going to be the reserve currency all by itself. It's going to be in a basket of currencies. They're thinking that the renminbi, the Chinese money, is going to be the powerhouse. That's backed by gold. All right? The United States dollar is not backed by anything except the full faith and credit of the United States, and we've been downgraded. So our full faith and credit is worth rubbish. Meanwhile, China and Russia both are buying gold, gold mines, uranium, precious metals, anything tangible that is for sale or barterable. And we don't have that. We're the ones that sold them the mines. If we want to mine uranium in New Mexico, the Russians own half that uranium mine. And they can say, no, we're not going to let you mine there because we own half of it. We're going to stop you from mining your half. So they're not only buying the product, they're buying the mines. And that goes for gold, silver, diamonds, and other things too, like lithium and iridium, things like that. Meanwhile, we're just slacking. We're worried about some guy transgendering.
This country's done.
Yeah, and that's just a publicity stunt for his new reality show. They gave Bruce Jenner a reality show. So all of this publicity is the rollout.
Nobody
cares.
Cares.
Nobody cares. I'm sick of hearing about it. I wasn't even going to talk about him today. So now we got the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Well, JADEM falls into that. Because when that dollar collapses, we're already in a depression, but no one's going to tell you that. But in September, there's going to be no way around it. They're going to start using the word depression and recession. We're beyond a recession. But JADEM fits into it because they're going to have all of their things in place when it happens. You see what I mean? They're going to have all of their equipment in place because people are going to start flipping out. There's going to be runs on banks. If there should be runs on banks today, just knowing about it. But they're also going to take your pensions and your 401ks. They're already doing it in cities like Chicago and Detroit. Soon Baltimore. So that's going to be widespread. If you don't have your financial affairs in order now, you haven't been paying attention. But this JADEM thing now, it's not just in those states that they were mentioning, the 7 states, which are the ones that La Raza is trying to take back, by the way. It's everywhere. Here's one in Michigan. U.S. Army holding urban operations training in Michigan. This is from Breaking 911. The United States Army is reportedly conducting training exercises in the city of Flint, Michigan. The training is to be done at separate locations and will run from June 1st until the 12th. The training involves the use of training simulations and helicopters. Sounds associated with the training may also be heard. The Flint Police Department is aware of it and will contact residents in the immediate area where the training takes place. Helicopters and non-lethal ammunition, known as simunition, will be used. The Army's training their personnel in urban operation. No further details were available. Okay, so this one's not called Jade Helm, but it's still going on. You also know about the ones in New York and Connecticut and California and Fort Lauderdale and Orlando and all of those. Those have been going on for quite some time. People are reporting all this military equipment moving up and down the highways and railways and everything else all over the country. So it's not just Jade Helm. Jade Helm is just the name that assigned to that one portion. But it's going on in every single state, not just those 7 states. Now, from July 15th to September 15th, the U.S. military will be conducting a massive military drill throughout the 9 states, not 7. This rather alarming drill across the entire American Southwest will include the U.S. Army's Green Berets, U.S. Marine Special Operations Command, U.S. Navy SEALs, and U.S. Air Force Special Operations Command. That's the heavy hitters, ladies and gentlemen. The stated purpose of the drill contradicts how this unprecedented exercise will actually be carried out. Combine this with the document labeling the entire U.S. state of Texas as hostile, and Utah too. You know, labeling them hostile. So that's just to get the soldiers in the mindset of what they will be facing allegedly overseas. Now, they're working in conjunction with all these local police departments, but they say it's for overseas. Well, your local police department is not going overseas. And I think we're looking at it backwards. I'm thinking that the military's already trained. You know, you got Green Berets. They didn't get to be a Green Beret by not being already trained. They're training our cops. They're not training the military. And that fits with the bill that Jan Schakowsky, Barbara Boxer, and a couple others just put out there to nationalize the police forces. They're training them. And it's not just Jade Helm. It's every state. Every single one of these was conducted in conjunction with the local and state police and emergency operations in each state. So I don't think it's the military that's getting trained. I think it's the cops that are getting trained to work in conjunction with the military. Now, that brings us to Minerva. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of Minerva, but Minerva is a study that was commissioned by the United States government. And what it does is they are monitoring shows like this, your social media like Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, those type of things. And they are planting information and planting triggers into make it civil discourse. Matter of fact, that's where OFA and all these organizers in Baltimore and Ferguson and all of that, that's where they're getting the money. They are trying to cause mass civil breakdown so they can study it. What they're doing is they're trying to get to your breaking point. They're trying to make you react. Listen to this story. This is from Zero Hedge. About a month ago, we showed photos of the Chinese police engaged in a drill designed to crush a working-class insurrection in which the police did precisely what would be required to end a middle-class rebellion. It made us wonder, what does China know that the U.S. doesn't? As it turns out, nothing. Because long before China was practicing counter-riot operations using rubber bullets, all the way back in 2008, the U.S. Department of Defense was conducting studies on the dynamics of civil unrest and how the U.S. military might best respond. The name of the project, Minerva Research Initiative, and its role is to improve the Department of Defense basic understanding of the social, cultural, behavioral, and political forces that shape regions of the world of strategic importance to the United States. The Guardian, which first revealed the details, reports, the multi-million-dollar program is designed to develop immediate and long-term warfighter-relevant insights for senior officials and decision-makers in the defense policy community, and to inform policy implemented by combatant commands. It says here that the premise behind Minerva is simple. It's just to study how violent political overthrow, also known as mass civil breakdown, happens in the day and age of social networks, and be prepared to counter it by targeting peaceful activities and protest movements when it finally reaches U.S. shores. Among the projects awarded for the period 2014 to 2017 is a Cornell University-led study managed by the U.S. Air Force Office of Scientific Research, which aims to develop an empirical model out of the dynamics of social movement, mobilization, and contagions. Well, that study was done in 2008, and it's ongoing. But what they learned from it was how to mass organize civil unrest. And they've used this money. There's, like $700 million here that they use for this program. They're giving it to the community organizers to try to start civil unrest. So this is a program. We're all being programmed. You see what's going on here, Scott? All right. Now, the Wikipedia says that the Minerva Research Initiative was announced in 2008 by Secretary of Defense Robert Gates. Minerva looks to tap into the community of area specialists and other university researchers, particularly those who work on Islam, Iraq, China, and related areas. That's what it was in 2008. Now it's domestic. The project was provided $50 million by the United States Department of Defense to fund academic research on 5 separate themes. One focus was on China, a second on terrorism, a third on Iraq, a fourth on Islam, and the fifth that's open for public policy. The goal was to create improved relations between the Department of Defense and the universities and to develop knowledge that the military can benefit from in the long term. So what they're doing is they're causing civil unrest to see how we react to it. So then they'll go after the people like us who do react to it. And that's what this Jade Helm is all about, too. And that's what the Trans-Pacific Partnership is all about. And that's why they're studying us. They're watching us very closely. And they're putting out all these things, like misinformation, even about Jade Helm, to see how we react to it. And then they're going after the leaders. And just like we thought that biker thing was complete fraud down there in Texas, I think that was part of this. When you look at those bikers, hardly any of them had tattoos. What group of bikers hardly has tattoos? And then
it's all fake. I mean, it's
that's
all
what
fake.
It is. Yeah, but then they want to see who reacts to it, and then they're going to go after them.
What about? There was another story a little bit before that. I forget what it was. There's so many, and it's all just such BS, and it just disappears. You come out with these stories, it stirs up a hornet's nest, and then it just magically disappears, like like the story just falls off the face of the planet.
Right. And just like they tried to do that Black Lives Matter stuff with the event in Boston the other day. That was also planted. You know that the Imam brother said, the last thing he said to his father was, "I can't breathe." There's the trigger words.
Yeah.
So that was to create a response. And then they're studying those who responded to see how active we are and to see what our breaking point is and to see when we're actually going to take action. They're even studying people, like, say you and I listen to the same story. We're side by side. One of us flips out, the other one doesn't. They're even studying that, why one flipped out and why the other one didn't. And how to go after the one that flipped out, and how to build on the one that didn't.
It's basically, psychological profiling.
Mhm. Yep, and they're pushing buttons to elicit a reaction. Because the big deal is coming.
Most people don't care. Most people don't even pay attention. They don't even watch the state-run media that spoons feeds you about 10% of the truth every night. So,
Yeah, well, this is also run by the NSA, too. NSA is in on this Minerva project. So what they're doing, Scott, is they know that we're going to have this crash. And they know that we're going to a global economy, a global governance. And they know that freedom-loving, Constitution-loving Americans are going to flip out over it. So they're giving it to us in little pieces before the big one. They're getting all their little markers in order with their jade helm. They're getting all their equipment set up. They're getting all the training done because they know civil unrest is coming. They're planning it. And then they drop these little events in there, like the thing in Texas and the Sandy Hook thing and the Boston bombing. And see how we react, see who says what and see who does what. So they know how to react to it. They know which ones of us are going to get up and make the moves. People like me who say, oh, yeah, Al Sharpton's going to go to the RNC and hold a protest. We ought to hijack his protest. I still think that. I think we damn well should hijack his protest. We should show up in huge numbers. But they know that. They already have a plan for that. They already have a study on it, and they have planned this all along. Now, I got one last one about this, and then I'm going to tell you about what's going on with Bilderberg next week. The DOJ has also launched a study of right-wing extremists. Denise wrote this. Do you ever wonder what the definition of a right-wing extremist is? Do you ever wonder who actually decides to be classified as such? Consider the ACLU or the Southern Poverty Law Center, who have had constant access to the Justice Department under Eric Holder. Then, academia is allowed to have a major voice against conservatives. Just perform a cursory look at a major university and their professors. Enter the little-known division sanctioned by the Department of Justice, known as the National Institute of Justice. NIJ award detail. An assessment of extremist groups. Use of web forums, social media, and technology to enculturate and radicalize individuals into violence. The Justice Department studying far-right social media used $586,000 to study to combat violent extremism. The DOJ is concentrating on far-right groups in a new study of social media usage aimed at combating violent extremism. The Justice Department, National Institute of Justice, awarded Michigan State University $585,000 for the study, which was praised by Eric Holder. This currently limited knowledge of the role of technology in computer-mediated communications, such as Facebook and Twitter, in the dissemination of messages that promote extremist agendas and radicalize individuals to violence, according to this grant. That's another thing, too, about these grants. If they don't like your results, they don't pay you for your study. So these are all designed to study, to identify, to set up a plan to go after us. They know that when the chips hit the fan, that it'll probably be constitutionalists and veterans, everybody who's on that terrorist list that Napolitano released, that are going to fight for this country. And that's who they're going after. And they're doing it with the Trans-Pacific Partnership. They're doing it with the ones that are coming after the TPP. So for the next 6 years, this fast track is in effect, not just for the Trans-Pacific Partnership, but everything beyond that for the next 6 years. They've got these studies that they have commissioned. Robert Gates put it out there. They know it's coming. And then that brings us to Bilderberg, 2015. They are, next week, as a matter of fact, meeting the true story of the Bilderberg group. You all know about the Bilderbergs and all of that. Well, it says here, CFR founder Paul Warburg was a member of Roosevelt's Brain Trust. In 1950, his son James told the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, we should have a world government, whether or not you like it, by conquest or consent. Later, at the 92 Bilderberg Group meeting, Henry Kissinger said, today, Americans would be outraged if UN troops entered Los Angeles to restore order. Tomorrow, they will be grateful. This is especially true if they were told that there was an outside threat from beyond, whether real or promulgated, that threatened our very existence. It is then that all people of the world will plead with world leaders to deliver them from this evil. Individual rights will be willingly relinquished for the guarantee of their well-being granted to them by their world government. Enter ISIS. What are they doing with ISIS? ISIS is taking over the world. They're on the other side of the border. You know, you're gonna see UN troops coming through to save you. They're not there to save you. Henry Kissinger said this in '92. America would be outraged if UN troops entered Los Angeles to restore order. So they're even telling you where they're coming in. California's in Jade Helm, right? And says that they have to tell people that there's an outside threat from beyond, whether real or promulgated, whether real or imagined. And they threaten our very existence. And we're supposed to plead with these world leaders to deliver us from this. So that explains the whole New World Order, doesn't it? You know, they got ISIS in Europe, and they got ISIS in Africa, and they got ISIS in the Middle East, and ISIS in South America, and ISIS camps down in Mexico. And we're supposed to be begging them to all come together and be our savior and save us from ISIS, whether real or promulgated. So it's not even real, guys. It says the Bilderberg-Rockefeller scheme is to make their views so appealing by camouflaging them that they become public policy and can pressure world leaders into submitting to the needs of the matters of the universe. The free world press is their instrument to disseminate greed. And then cabinet control. You know, all of our cabinet, for the past 80 years, every one of them has been a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, the Bilderbergs. All right? It says the Rockefeller-founded Trilateral Commission, on page 405 of his memoirs, David Rockefeller wrote, "Some even believe we are part of a secret cabal working against the best interest of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists, and conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure. One world, if you will. If that's the charge, I stand guilty, and I'm proud of it." In alliance with Bilderberg, the TC, that's the Trilateral Commission, also plays a vital role in the New World Order scheme to use wealth concentrated in the hands of a few to exert world control. TC members share common views and all related to total, unchallengeable global dominance. This Bilderberg meeting is next week, ladies and gentlemen, for this year. You remember when Obama and Hillary were running in 2008, they snuck off to a Bilderberg meeting, remember?
Yeah, they did.
Well, there's another one coming up. It's another election year.
Right, the last one here. I don't know, I say that every year, but the closer it gets to WW3 and total collapse, they're about ready to drop the hammer.
Yeah, they are. It's just, you know, every bit of it fits. The Jade Helm, the training the cops, the socializing the cops, socializing your medical, all these trade deals, and especially the TPP with the fast track. It's not the trade deal they want. It's the fast track authority. They don't give a damn about the Trans-Pacific Partnership. That's just a bunch of corporations. They all pay donations to all these big donors. They're doing it anyhow. You know, our ports are run by the Chinese and the Arabs.
I don't even know why they go through the motions of pretending it has to pass this and that, and pretending they have to, you know, try to pass anything. They can just declare it, and if you don't like it, tough.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about it. You can't vote the bums out. You can't do anything.
Well,
Ted Cruz or whoever is not going to ride in on a white horse and save this country. It's impossible.
Yeah, well, you know, as far as the trade deal itself, they can make those trade deals without the Trans-Pacific Partnership. It's the fast-track authority they wanted.
They don't even need authority. They have it. You know, they have the military-industrial complex to crush any opposition that makes a peep. You know, it's like the movie Goodfellas. You go in there and you just take what you want. If anybody complains, you hit them so bad they never complain again.
Mhm.
Same thing, just on a global scale.
Yeah. Well, that last Bilderberg meeting, Soros was there, Buffett was there, Rockefeller, Hillary, and Ban Ki-moon was there, Bill Clinton was there, Obama was there. Who else was there? There was a bunch of them there. Mitch McConnell was there.
What, last Bilderberg?
The last Bilderberg in 2008.
Oh, General Petraeus, don't forget him.
Mhm.
He was there.
Yeah, he was there.
You know, they're all violating the Logan Act, you know, but
he's not a member.
You know,
he's not even a member of CFR.
It's just a law, the Logan Act.
Yeah, well,
I'm sure
Rockefeller said it himself.
Rockefeller
said it himself.
You know?
He's guilty as charged and proud of it.
Yeah, he
is. He wants a world government. Yeah. And look who owns the media.
They've been writing this in their books for 40 years.
Mhm.
And the media just snores. They don't cover it. They don't even mention it. Because he owns them all.
Yep. Exactly. So the Jade Helm actually is training for mass unrest in the United States. And it's not to train the military, it's to train the cops, from what I can see. And the Bilderberg meeting is coming in, and that they're talking about the world government. John Kerry told us that he was an internationalist. He would only like to see the United States military dispersed around the world under the command of the UN. And he told us that in 1979. This has been going on a long time. And we are at the final stage of the game. Obama has 19 months to get it done. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have no idea what's coming. But it's not only coming, it's coming fast, it's coming hard, and it's now. It's not down the road, it's now. And that's all I got to say today. You got anything to add to that?
No, just that they are issuing warrants because some people were cheering for their cousin at graduation. So it's over, folks.
I saw that. You know, that might be rude, but a warrant?
Yeah, a warrant for your arrest
at a graduation?
For cheering for your kid graduating high school. You know, that and man-spreading. You can't even sit comfortably now without being arrested in this country. But, hey, on the bright side, in California, they're offering free rides for drunken senators. Isn't that great?
That is so sad that we have come to the point where we have to set up rides for our senators because they're too drunk to drive. Obama's always drunk or high. That guy needs a straitjacket. Now he's Jewish. Did you see that?
Yeah,
the guy has a serious identity crisis.
I saw that, but the little propeller keeps falling off of his yarmulke.
Yeah. Hey, we got to get out of here. We're out of time.
Right.
Say good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Scott. All right, guys, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for tuning into Zone 13. To our listeners, our callers, our colleagues, everybody in the chat rooms, thank you so much. As always, thank you to Scott Ferrarello, my awesome co-host, and Lynn Anna AstroTurf, you rock. Stay tuned to FreedomizerRadio.com all week to keep up with the latest news and information you can actually use, and we'll see you right here next Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. On that note, good night, everybody. We love you. Zone 13 out.